Hello everyone. Today you're working on your introduction, so I want to give you some ideas about that. Now, first of all, remember you are going to use the headings. So I should see the word introduction, and then I should see the word purpose, I should see the word problem, and I should see the word scope. Now, I think you should follow that format, and then you should have a background section. The background, however, in the textbook in the chapter on research reports, it divides it into theory and history, or history and theory. I don't think you need that. I don't think you need either one of those theory and history sections because of the kind of report you're writing. So let's go through them one by one. First of all, the purpose statement. It really is a statement. It should be one sentence, and it should say the purpose of this report is to analyze the X and Y of the ABC scene from the CDE film. Remember to italicize and capitalize your titles of movies, but you see what I did. The purpose is to analyze the physics, momentum, forces, gunshot, glass breaking, whatever it is, of this particular scene in this particular movie. And that's it. It's one sentence. The purpose is to. One sentence. Purpose statement. There, your purpose is written. Problem. The problem is for almost all of the ones you're doing, unless it's more specific to the film itself, the problem is that movies portray things as realistic when it seems like they are obviously not. You want to test that. That's the problem you're addressing. You're going to do that by analyzing that scene from that film. The scope should be 2 sentences. I'm spelling this out. The scope section should be 2 sentences. This report will only address the ABC of XYZ scene. It will not address the whatever else we think you might. So the scope section is an only statement. It's what you're actually going to do, which is a restatement of the purpose statement. And then a not statement that says there may be some other things you think I'm going to talk about, but I'm not. So I'm going to tell you I'm only going to do ABC. I'm not going to do XYZ. Or I'm not going to discuss, or I'm not going to analyze XYZ. So you may want to wait to finalize your scope statement. You can write a draft of it now, but you may want to finalize it when you finish the entire report. So those are the 3 sections. The purpose statement, the problem that films portray things as realistic, or whatever you determine the problem is, and you're going to test it by looking at this one scene, and then your scope, which is an only statement and a not statement. The background can be part of that introduction, or as the research report has it, it can be its own section. No matter what, you're going to need to have it for either the introduction or the discussion section, which in some places might be called criteria. But you're not doing criteria, that's for a recommendation report. So for yours, you're just going to have a discussion section. So the background should really just be a description of the scene. That's where you go into detail about what you're going to be analyzing in that scene by describing the scene. You don't need to give a lot of the plot. That's not the point. The point is not the cinematography. The point is not the characters. The point is what the scene is showing that you're going to analyze. Because what you want to do is, when you think of background, in your head you should always think, what does the reader need to know to understand the rest of my report? And you can see how theory and history can play into that. But most of the time we don't need separate sections, and most of the time I don't think history is that necessary, except in terms of literature review, which you don't need to do. So for you, background is just a description of the scene, because we need to know what the scene is like before we can understand the rest of the report. So in the background, use movie stills to help explain what the scene is about. So there's your introduction with its purpose, problem, scope, and background.